Hey guys, okay, so this is one of our first episodes that we're doing, trying to do as a commentary style podcast on social and political issues. My name, for those who don't know yet, is Francesca, which is probably most of you guys have. And
my name is Martin, aka Martian643.
Yeah, if you guys want to check out our social media, it will be in the description below. I have multiple ones. On Instagram is Francesca Sin Filtro.
All over the place.
And on X is for reals. So I have like different social medias. Don't ask why. But on TikTok, which is kind of gets very censored all the time. On TikTok, I do have two. One in English, one in Spanish. The English one is the same as this channel, which is Let's Be Frank with Francesca. All right. So we've been wanting to do this for a while.
Yeah. Just having to take care of some parental duties.
A lot of
been
things
getting in the way, and plus work.
Yeah, we got a lot going on this year. It's been tough but exciting at the same time because we just became parents.
Yeah, you want to talk about that or in the business?
I actually want to focus more on what's going on right now.
Yeah.
And then we can just talk a little bit about ourselves if people feel like want to know a little more about our background.
Let us know if for the next time you want us to elaborate more on
our background.
On our background, what we do and stuff. But
long story.
For now, it's like we're trying to get into the issues of what's been going on in with the state of the world, right? The elections, the wars, the scandalous, how do you say, the Diddy files, with the Diddy files, all this, it's crazy, these kind of like, did I say pedophile rings, or
dude,
freaking,
what's up with that?
All these sex, human trafficking things that are going on, dude. Like, it's fucking crazy.
It's so funny because I come from a liberal family. Well, it's kind of like, I'm trying to summarize it, but pretty much. As Hispanics, right, we're told to vote Democrat because Democrat always kind of like to claim they're for the people and they care for minorities and stuff like that. And that's pretty much as basic as we get like our understanding when I think most people know about politics. And it's crazy that I used to not even want to know about politics. Like, just to me it was like it's like might as well talk to me about rocket science because I don't get it.
I know, I was the same way.
Right?
Like it was just so boring to me to think about like politics and
yeah.
Or like, I guess when I was younger, like made me like use my brain too much, and I was like, forget all that, you don't want to even think about it. And then you think it doesn't affect you, but until you get older and then you start realizing that like,
everything.
as you grow up, I guess we see changes, right? Like what's going on, and you don't really care about that when you're a teenager and stuff. But as you get older and you're working and you start noticing, like, paying your taxes, and then new regulations come in, and work wages increases and all this stuff, right? Pricing, inflation goes up, and you start noticing how like the economy really affects.
It really affects everything. Everything is politics. Everything is politics. Even in church, they want to say they don't mix church and politics. Everything is politics. But to me, oh man, like I feel like I wanna make like I've been wanting to do a video actually where I kind of talk about how I went from being the typical young girl, right? That you had these liberal ideas and you believe in all these nuances, right? Mm-hmm. And all these feminist things that have been like just carved in you just by just social media. Well, even before, I come from a time where social media wasn't really a thing, but just the media alone, like it starts getting into you through movies, through everything. And a lot of things just seem like that's the norm until you realize, like, what the hell? Like when you start learning more, you start really questioning, like, what if the things that I used to think or used to believe were just not just inserted in me? Like, were just told me that that's how I'm supposed to think, right?
Mm-hmm. Like example.
Yeah,
Like when you do like certain things, it's like when you see movies, right? When you see movies when you're like younger, and like there will be like high school scenes or school scenes,
Yeah.
and you just think like, oh, this is how things are supposed to go, like a certain way. You expect the relationship to go a certain way or something, or
yeah. There's just so much of it
that
that I used to think. For example, right? I remember at a very young age used to saying that I am not gonna get married until I live with someone for a few years and I know that this can work out. I mean, that alone, I mean, this body sounds like it's not a terrible idea because you do want to kind of like, you don't know someone until you live with them. But at the same time, it's like, how was I so young and thinking this way, right? Although I came from a religious background, grew up in a private school, private Catholic school, and there was a lot of things that were, part of my moral moral basis, but that just contradicted it. And also I always believed that I needed to experience before I met the right guy. Like a lot of things that now I think like, well, that's not the only way to meet the right guy. There's other ways to really meet the right person without you having to get into bed with them. So it was a lot of things that were just that I just believed, and I'm like, when how did I start thinking this way?
How did you start thinking that way?
I think it was a little bit of everything. My parents did influence a lot of that, but that's another story. I just kind of like almost like, I don't want to be my mom who got married young. But my mom got married young because she started having sex before marriage. She got pregnant with me and ended up like not seeing other way around. Like she didn't believe in abortion, which is good, right? Because a lot it was already starting to influence. I grew up thinking that abortion was okay. I grew up thinking that a baby wasn't alive until after a certain amount of months. Like they were just like the body was growing, but like their little brain was just not like they were not like a lot of people think like they were just not conscious. Like it just wouldn't hurt them to just terminate the. I don't know how, like now that I know, it's because once you learn certain things, you can't unlearn them. So now I look at things so differently. Like, how could I be so cold about my way of thinking in regards to abortion, in regards to all these things that a lot of these kids do think that.
I think, you hear about these terms and stuff, and like, it's just kind of like propaganda. Like if you see, they tell you that it's okay, or they put in an article, they say like, they omit information, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of like why you don't think it's all that bad.
Yeah, you just
kind of go with it, right? It was little by little. Everybody like agreeing with it that like it's okay.
Yeah, so little by little they put things in on all these movies and everything. And I remember even hearing for like, oh, it's subliminal message. I'm like, Like, I don't fall for subliminal messages. Like, it's so obvious. But, okay, anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. So, I was just wanted to say that my mom's family, it's from here, from the U.S., like her white side of the family, they are liberal. And from, when we moved here, we didn't really have a lot of Hispanic friends or community that we could have, like, say, we got influence from. We just pretty much, I don't know, it just also feel like the media's been, since we moved here in 2004, the media's been pretty leftist for quite some time. Like, the Democrats have been kind of like the most popular, the more popular party for a while, especially here in states like California.
The oldest political party, I think.
Oh, it's one of the oldest ones? Okay.
I think there was like some before that.
That's so weird because we're are you sure? Major. I want to look more into that because I heard some stuff, but
fact check you right now.
Yeah, we should probably make a whole going into like a few facts about history. But if we're a constitutional republic, like why would Democrats, like just the word Democrats, be a party?
The Democratic Party is one of the two major political parties of the United States, and the oldest active political party in the country as well as in the world.
Oh, that's how it started as a... but so then how did it work before?
Since 1828. Well, there was kings and queens ruling, you know.
Okay,
It wasn't really,
so
like,
there was
established.
it was
wasn't
the
really
independence.
established, I guess, democratic systems like that. Before.
So who
United
voted for the
States.
first? How
I mean,
was
there
that?
was democratic countries and stuff, but
How was the
wasn't,
first
like,
election of the president of the United States happen?
I don't know, but I think they just kind of elected George Washington.
It's because it was just kind of like, yeah, it was just kind of like these revolutionary people, and people just kind of like knew of them, right? And they just like, hey, we want him to be president. It's kind of like very basic, old school kind of like way of voting, right?
Yeah.
But then it will be really interesting to find out how and why did the Democratic Party was created. And because I hear a lot of old commentators and everything talk about how there's always been communists and socialists trying to infiltrate again into these, political parties, and also infiltrate into pretty much the government. So it'll be really, really interesting to find out why the Democratic Party got built. And also because almost from the very beginning, the Democratic Party was a party that wanted to keep the slaves, was the party that believed in segregation, that promoted segregation, all these, really messed up things. So it just kind of shows that from the very beginning, their moral compass was very, like, oh, let's just convince a bunch of people to do this, because what's his name? What's this guy called? One of the founding fathers. I always mention him. His name came out.
Thomas? No.
No, Daniel. No.
Adams.
John Adams. He would always say, right, like pure democracy is dangerous. Be careful with pure democracy.
Mm-hmm.
Was he before or after the Democrats were? When did the Democrats create?
1828.
1828. And John Adams died in. So anyways, it's a really interesting thing to see, like, how it started, like the Democrats, first party, then the Republicans happen to obviously counteract to be like, hey, no, we're not Democrats, we're actually a Republican. Don't get yourself twisted. Don't try to take us back, right? And it seems like most of the Republican presidents have been great presidents, especially, and then it started getting kind of like a little twisted, and then Reagan comes in to really shape up. This is what I've heard. Like Reagan really shaped up the Republican Party to kind of be very, very aligned with their ideals, right? Because sometimes parties say like, "Oh, we stand for this," but then they end up curving away based on who's really in it. Like who are really the people that are leading this party.
Yeah, I think that's what right now. So I think that's kind of like the problem of the country right now, is that the citizens have kind of gotten away. They kind of lost their like values and morals. I guess people are just, I don't know, just trying to survive, or like maybe social media. I think social media has gotten us, away from each other as a community.
So I don't want to.
That kind of breaks the values and morals, which we need to get realigned with that.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to get, because I don't want to get lost into like little boring details right now, because it will make the podcast very boring. But basically, I just want to say that my family came from a liberal. My mom's has a liberal white family. And as Hispanics, it was just kind of like our understanding that the Democrats were the good party, Republicans were the greedy party, the party of, that only care for rich people, blah blah blah. And then when you're just told this, you're just told this by 2 or 3 people, you're like, whoa, 2 or 3 people think this, well, it must be true. Like, why would they lie? And it just turns out that most people just don't research, especially before Google. People had a very limited understanding of like who the hell was gonna, like, people will read more before per se, but how many people actually were reading the white books, for example, versus in Google you can just find the right information that you're actually looking for. I mean, I don't even want to say Google anymore, because Google is also very, very left wing. but still, like those who want to find the right information and know how to search, which I want to get better at that. But I've been actually getting really good at my searches, and because I come from a time where and I grew up in Mexico, for those that don't know, so I tend to think more objectively, and when I can tell when somebody I mean, I'm still making mistakes, but I can sort of like when you see these people talk, these people that I follow, these political commentators, they sound like they're making sense. They sound like it's like it makes logical sense. And when you see them, also when you see them debate, it's so really good to see the debates and all that stuff. And anyways, I don't want to get lost in those details.
See them in action.
Yeah, so I started like following all these people and everything, and it's important to follow the right people, but also see them debate, see how see and don't get like so married to one idea or so married just because you like one person. There's many times that I like people, but I can still see like you should be able to see like their flaws and how they're just not they're being a little biased, or they're just kind of like too married to certain ideals, and you got to be like, okay, you're not being realistic. I got really into the red pill as well, and then I started realizing how then I started hearing them more and be like, okay, yeah, this guy's a little too he's not being what's the word when you're just objective? He's not being objective about, not all women are like that, not all men are like that either. So there is flaws in both sexes, and you can't just say, oh, women are like this. We do have certain tendencies, and there's definitely differences that are very fundamental, but it's important to just kind of be able to discern from like when a person is biased or not biased, and just kind of, and I get none of my I never like watching news, so that's what also helped when I started getting more into politics or learning about politics through political commentators, which it helps, but also helps to see them debate the opposite, like hear the opposite view, so you're not just being trapped in like a echo chamber.
Echo chamber.
Sorry, echo chamber. What do we say eco? Because eco is from like ecology, right?
Ecology.
And echo is with the CH. Okay, I get them confused. So yeah, and what got to me? Okay, so what got me interested in basically, because everything that we just mentioned, that we just went very fast on it. Basically, is the social issues. What got me very interested, is realizing how it's, like you said, it affects all of us one way or another. But when I really started seeing it is the boom of these ideologies that is like before it's just kind of like pretty much living in an episode of South Park, right? It's kind of one of those things where you're like that, you will see it in South Park, and it was just hysterical because it's like, no way. That's never gonna happen, right? That's kind of like pushing it too far. Mm-hmm. And then like just to see it happen exactly as it was said there, as a joke, you want to think like this is like we're living in some kind of reality show, or like is this made up? Like are these videos even hard to believe? What your own reality? Like, are these videos real? Are these people pretending? Like, it's hard to tell like what's real and what's not real anymore, because there's no way that, for example, now saying that, that, for example, trans women trying to say that they are actually women, that they want to be, that they are women and women are cis women. And just kind of one of those where like, okay, it seems like it shouldn't hurt anyone, but it does hurt. Like, why are we playing this word game? Like, why, like, where is this going to end?
Yeah. You're just like creating like these new words for what, right?
Yeah, like okay, so you don't want to be called a trans woman. You want to be called a woman, but you want to call me a
cisgender is just heterosexual, right? Or
it's a gender that aligns with their generals, I guess. Yeah, it's if your gender aligns with your gender.
So I'm a cis male, right?
You're a cis male. I'm a cis woman. And I remember hearing those terms, I was like, okay. So when I started hearing about all this, I was still in my leftist wing side. I was getting really into, like, I started getting really into learning about Asperger's syndrome, and I was really into psychology. I think a lot of leftist people a lot of women tend to want to study psychology because it sounds like a fun, especially when you deal with the issues like depression and anxiety, and then you just want to kind of figure out why you feel this way. And I always want to write a book and talk about people, about the things, struggles that I went through. And I wanted to help people just kind of deal with the same struggles and learn from what I learned. And then I started learning about ADHD and then Asperger's syndrome. And then I started realizing, like, oh, yeah, I identify with that so much, like, yeah, like, I'm non-filter, I'm this and that, like, everything. I read all the books. I drank the Kool-Aid.
They gave it to you straight. Yeah, you drink it.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember all that.
And I started
like right there with you, like where you were getting literally like sucked into that whole freaking
right. And when I would explain
spectrum.
Remember when I would explain it, like, it sounded like it made total sense.
Well, yeah, because
it was explained by doctors.
But it was funny
like psychologists.
Though, dude, yeah, you got really intoxicated by that Kool-Aid, because
my family hated me.
You were diagnosing everybody, dude, what the hell? You were diagnosing, like,
stop it, don't
everybody,
say that.
man. And then it's like, yeah, you could be Asperger's too. Hey, you do this, huh? Oh yeah, you're like,
oh, what if you're on the spectrum?
Like mild Asperger's, and there was like levels.
My
to this
siblings hated me
because they call it the
autistic spectrum. Yeah, so it's like it started kind of showing we're like
really autistic or
very mildly autistic
symptoms or whatever. So that was funny, dude, because then you started nitpicking everybody's like behavioral tendencies or whatever.
Yes,
like,
I started becoming really obsessed.
And then
it was really obsessive.
Obsessed. Yeah.
And speaking of obsession,
that was
going back to, like, I didn't, the time where there was a time where, like, I did not want to know anything about politics. And when I will hear people talk about politics, they will talk about things about this sounded very conspiracy theory kind of thing, right? And it would just be like, no, like the Democrats, like they have a children ring and this and that, and they don't, what was the other very known conspiracy theory? They would just say, like, yeah, and Clinton, and then they're all like homosexuals, and they believe in this, and they do this, and they something with Russia, and blah blah blah, and the twins are. So you will hear and say all these things, and you'll be like, okay. So they just sounded crazy, like straight up crazy. And I remember one time I was like, no, like they come out that there's like a whole this like pizza party and Hillary and da da da, and
those pizza.
Oh, the Pizzagate. My pizza party too. It's a party. It's a party and a gate. But yeah, I remember hearing that, and I just think like, I don't know. It sounds like kind of made up, Because you see Hillary, you see Clinton. They seem completely normal. She seems so nice, like on camera, right? She just seems like a normal old lady that just wants to fight for women's rights and wants to fight for these, social justice things. And just think like, well, like I'm sure when they get to power, there have to be a lot of lobbying and a lot of like owing this person favor and da. And that's understanding, but they can't be that bad. And now that I'm going more deep, I'm finding out all these things about Obama. Like, I really didn't think Obama was. I remember a lot of people would just hate it. I was like, they just hate him because he's a Democrat, I thought, right? Mm-hmm. And no, like a lot of things, like it's just all making sense that all the little pieces are coming together for me. And now I'm the one that sounds crazy when I talk about these things, because there's so many people that don't know. There's so many people that still don't know. And there's all this information. You just have to go in on X and just follow the right people. Just go on YouTube, follow the right people, and you will learn a lot, like off the bat, like this. So now, and I'm thinking like, okay, it wasn't. I mean, I did a little obsessed on learning a lot, but even at the very beginning, it's not very hard to learn these things. Mm-hmm. So it just trips me out. Like when I talk to people, just random people, friends and stuff, they don't know any of this, and it's like how. How do you not know? Mm-hmm. Because all this information is being blocked. Like 90% of the media is
blocked, and it's just like hidden. I think most people are just not interested in that, or they're just trying to live life, going to work, taking care of their family, just doing the day-to-day stuff, and they're not really, they don't get lost in the sauce, so to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, because once you start digging and you start learning this stuff, like, yeah, you get stuck go down the rabbit hole.
And I wanted to show some videos, actually.
But dude, all this stuff I was hearing, like, in hip hop songs too, like these underground songs, like, like Jedi Mind Tricks talks about it, like Mortal Technique.
Yes.
A lot of like underground songs. So I would hear something like that, and then I would do like hear some information, like look up some videos on YouTube, do some research on it, and like, yeah, man, like, the whole damn, I forgot what it's called. What Alex Jones went to. I forgot what it's called. Let me look it up real quick. But Alex Jones he infiltrated like a cult. He actually made it into a Bohemian Grove, and apparently that's where they do like sacrifices, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, like they have like these weird ceremonies, and he saw like.
Well, all those things just sound like out of a movie to me.
Yeah, but like you see these things in movies, and
oh my God.
you see these things in movies, and then you just think that that's what they are. You think they're just movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, yeah, like they tell you these things, and that's what like I've been hearing like a lot lately. Like they tell you these things like blatantly in your face, but most people they don't get it. And,
yeah, they're telling you what they're
like,
doing.
Everything's there for you to see and research, but you just don't get it. They tell you on the food labels all the ingredients it has, but what you still eat the food.
You still eat the food and you don't understand. Food. It's because I realize that most people think at a very like they kind of like have certain layers of deepness where they understand certain things, but then some things you just get they're more multi-layered to be able to understand. Like now I see how I think in a very multi-dimensional kind of way, versus before it was very like basic. We're like, hey, you know what? Just give me food. I want something in my mouth, and I need to focus on my problem in front of me, which is me getting a job, or me getting to my job on time, or me be able to like not get fired from my job. Like this very basic things,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the more things you do, the more challenging you make yourself. The more challenges and projects you give yourself, the more you train your brain to like start thinking in these like multi-dimensional things. That's why you see a difference between people who can do crazy projects. We started by having we're barely able to keep up with our house when we first moved in, with our kitchen and everything, and now we are able to create systems for our home. All those things show the kind of like capacity that you have as a person to be able to keep up with a lot of things. So yeah, speaking of movies, like the movie that Obama and his wife made, like what's up with that? Like, if that's not creeping out people, it's like, why would he make that movie?
What was it called? Leave the World Behind?
Leave the World Behind.
Yeah, dude.
It's like, why would he leave? Why would he make that movie? How do you go, like, from being a president,
politician,
to make such a weird freaking movie?
To make a film like that, dude.
And not only that, but even the film, there's a part where they have this racist, like,
like an underlying, like a racist.
This racist topic, right? A political topic where, like, yeah, well, they're white people, they're all the same, da da da. You can't trust them. You can't trust them. To me, seeing that, like, knowing what I know, I'm thinking, like, wow, like, to me, it just sounds very, like, shameless, because it was like, okay, what I observed. What I saw is these black people that had this, that were well off, had all this money, all this privilege, but they still had this inferiority complex against like white people. Mm-hmm. Where it's just like, why? Like they just kind of have it very ingrained in their mind that no matter what, white people are always going to look down to them.
Right.
It's just kind of like judging people by just their physics, the how they look.
Their physical.
Yeah, when in reality, a poor white person has more in common with a poor black person than a poor black person has in common with a rich black person.
Exactly.
Let's just be honest. And that part, I was tripping out. I was like, are they trying to show how like stupid they sound when they say things like that? Are they trying to show that, or are they trying to show that that's how they actually think?
Imagine a kid watching that. They're gonna believe that.
They're gonna believe that.
Every time they see a white, but you know what I'm going on.
Yeah.
They're gonna believe it.
So yeah, because I'm thinking like, okay, what is really going on in this scene? Because I'm seeing the obvious. I'm seeing like, yeah, they sound fucking ridiculous, right? But do other black people see that? Other black people that been already not just brainwashed, but groomed
or
programmed to believe that, exactly. And then
subconsciously,
yeah. Then months later, when the DNC came out, I saw Michelle Obama talking about, saying this narrative about like, the white people, they have it all so easy. Da da da. So when they talk about equity and they talk about all these things, like she does have that.
She said it like
she
that.
said it like, yeah. She said the whole narrative about how white people and black people having it hard and da da da, and how white people have it easier. So she has either she has this inferiority complex stuck in her mind where like she thinks that no matter how, it's like she's one of the most privileged fucking people on fucking earth. She is the living proof that you can make it out of nothing and make your way up and be a fucking influence to so many people, so many Americans, not just black people, but a lot of people look up to her. And she still has the nerves to tell black people, to tell her people that no matter what, they're never gonna be seen as equal than white people. Are you fucking kidding me? Dude. That is wild to me. That is so wild. And I follow so many. I feel like for some reason, it's black people have a lot of influence because a lot of the people, political commentators that I follow happen to be black. Candace Owens, Amalek Punovi, Thomas Sowell.
Vincent Ellison.
Vincent Everett. The Vincent
Everett Ellison.
The Vincent Everett Ellison show. He's so funny.
Yeah,
I fucking love him. He's so hilarious. He talks all about everything, that how the Democrats were this and the history of the Democrats, and you listen to him. He knows a lot.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, a lot of people are probably gonna like not want to hear him out because he's a Christian, but he explains everything with so much logic, with so much like objectivity, and yeah, maybe from the lens of a Christian person. But I'm starting to realize like how there was even a time when I turned around when I was in college and getting very into left wing ideas and Asperger's and all that stuff, and then I want to say the spectrum and all that. I started becoming agnostic. Like I was so far to the left that I stopped believing in religion. I stopped believing in Christianity. But I went
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
That's the goal, because they want to be so liberal, like they break away from all these constraints that we grew up. I grew up, like fearing God, dude. Like like you read like the Ten Commandments or like what they tell you in church. Like you're gonna go to hell and this and that. And it's like I think to have that fear of God, is good. But as you get older and you start learning these things, you become like, how you said, like you were like liberal. Then like I was getting influenced too, just even with like friends at school too. Like when that time when like Obama was coming up, I didn't know about politicians and stuff, but like people were talking about like abortion and gay rights and this and that, it's like and then it's like,
and if you don't believe it,
like why not? I was like, why not just let them be? And then but then like one thing leads to another. It's not just them being gay.
It's a small window to other things. It's never stopped. It's progressive.
Yeah.
It just those are gonna want more.
Let the transgenders be more free, have more rights, more and it just opens up. Like,
I actually want to go. I wanted our next.
What's the time?
1 hour.
Oh, I was saying like the fear of God, right? So it's good to have that because, now I was wrapping it up. that's how we're breaking away from our morals and values.
Yes.
Which are based from the Bible.
Which is funny how I completely stopped believing in God. I stopped believing in. I mean, I didn't completely stop believing in God. I'm sorry, no. I became agnostic, so I still hold the thought that there was a higher power, because that is something that I could just never really be sure of, right? Like, it's like there's so much proof that there is a creator. But I really swallowed that pill that religion was a man-made thing. That's another story. But the point of me saying this is that I started like drifting away from that. So I believe everything that was deemed like psychology, everything deemed, explained by all this community. I joined these groups. I joined these autistic groups. I joined these, diverse groups, these diversity spectrum, all those things. I was even invited to podcasts, all these things. Like, I did my due diligence. I participated fully. And the more I learn, it's kind of when you enter our church, right? A cult. Like, I don't know if anybody of you guys seen these documentaries of Scientology and all that stuff. And everybody is like, why do they get trapped into this? One way or another, you get sucked in. Everything looks wonderful on the surface. And all these people that finally made it out, it's that the more deeper I get into it, the more I start finding out things that it's just like, whoa. This is not, there's a gut feeling inside of us when you're just kind of like, this doesn't feel right. And the more I learned, I was getting more open-minded, quote unquote. I was getting more open-minded until I got, there's a point where you have to limit yourself. It's like, okay, This is bullshit. This is no way this is okay. You believe in this? I'm out. Yeah. I'm out, like that's where, and to me it was like learning about, like when I started learning, a lot of the people that I followed and that I, will get my information, that I collaborated with, believed in multiple genders and believed that a man could be a woman and believed that gender was something that you were not destroyed. And I just always I want to say I just always knew. Like, I remember having a conversation with one of my employees who we thought he was gay. He was kind of like a feminine kind of boy. But even he even said like, yeah, like my girlfriend's parents thought that I was gay and da. But we talked one time about transgenderism, and I remember telling him like, I do think that that's a mental illness. I do think that is just something that is not aligning well. There's some disconnection. There's something that something happened along their life.
We were talking about like you getting lost in the sauce, and then how being like too open-minded, you just like everything goes out the window, right? And then you're saying transgender doesn't align with you're saying
so
you're about to say transgenderism doesn't.
To end this rant, I just want to say that me learning about all these ridiculousness about gender ideologies and how all that was so nonsensical, was so ridiculous. The more I learned from them, the more these people wanted to talk about being pansexual.
Because it was kind of related to the spectrum, right? Cause
they're becoming they're grouping. They start grouping. So the LGBTQ plus community, whatever, has gotten so big, and I didn't understand why. But now I know, because the government funds them. They give them so much money. That's how they get bigger and bigger and bigger and start influencing more people to join them, right? And if you're not part of their community. I even learned from people in my neurodiversity community, that wanted to just look up for a letter where they belong to. So there was some of them that would be like, oh, I think I'm asexual. So the A, right? Asexual. So where you just don't really have like a strong drive for sex. Mm-hmm. And they would just kind of explain about how they were asexual, and I started listening to them just kind of like, this just sounds like they just making things up. And there was some other letters too where they were basically just describing being heterosexual, but without describing that without saying they're heterosexual, kind of thing, And I was just kind of like, I knew that it's kind of, I feel like they just want to belong, like be cool with this party, so whatever, Like you start thinking like, okay, it's no big deal. Who's it gonna hurt?
Then they start adding more letters.
They have more letters, and then not only that, but one of the things that always pissed me off is that some of these people were insanely sensitive. Mm-hmm. And I always been about not being sensitive. I've always been very brutally honest.
Frank.
Very frank, yes. Which is why I thought I was Asperger's in the first place. So thought I will
No
try
filter.
I wanted people to kind of learn from people who are Asperger's, so people will stop being so fucking sensitive or just being fucked up to people like me, that we just kind of meant good. We'll say things, but it came from a good place. And now I just realize how fucking dumb and stupid all that fucking was and sounded. It's you can't change people. You can't expect people to just let you get away with shit that you're saying. It's your responsibility to read the room, to be likable. It's not other responsibilities to just not be annoyed by some of the comments that you say. You do need to be responsible. So now the more I learn things, I do realize no, we need to enforce responsibility in people. And yeah, also people need to stop being so fucking sensitive. Mm-hmm. Because there's gonna be times where you're gonna meet people who just say things however,
and they're gonna piss you off.
They're gonna piss you. They're gonna say things, but it comes from a good place. So you need to kind of read between the lines and try to understand what the message is. Basically, are they trying to actually? Do you really think your uncle or your cousin or your sister is trying to hurt your feelings, or do you think they're trying to give you some kind of advice that is just gonna help you maybe get better at something? Where is the message coming from? So, anyways, all those things, right? And I just started drifting apart from that, and then.
Okay, so you were saying you will have these conversations with these people in the groups?
Yeah, and I would argue with them.
They would get sensitive.
The breaking point. The breaking point was when the whole what do you call it? The whole virus, whatever, exploded, and then the Freud, what's his name?
George Floyd.
George Floyd. Floyd got murdered, and. And it was this whole Black Lives Matter, right? And my natural instinct, because I never really been into I was not very informed about how all these little
I like how you whisper that.
I know.
Black Lives Matter. Yeah, right. So I remember that point where you mentioned the comment and you said, "Oh yeah, all lives matter."
All lives matter.
And
I was but in my mind, because I was not very savvy with all these little quotes and divisions and how this, groupie thing you work. Because I never been a person to just follow the crowd. I always been a self, a lone wolf. I was kind of person that I think on my own. I like to make my own decisions, and I don't just take the decisions based on what everybody else is saying. So if I would have been on that experiment, right, where they put all these people, and then I think they put these lines or something, and then one of them was longer than the other ones. And then everybody said which one is the longest line? And everybody pointed at this other line that was not the longest line. Right. And then I would have been that person. Oh, y'all stupid. That line is fucking bigger. You're not gonna gonna tell me otherwise. You people are stupid. Yeah. I'm that person. Yeah. I'm that person. I'm okay, the hell you all people are smoking, because that line is not. So I like to think on my own. I like to have my own mindset and not just let people tell me what to answer or how to think or how to align. I've always been a rebel. Always. Since I can remember, I was that kid that ran away from home. I stood up to my parents, who were very authoritarian when I was growing up. So I always been a person that breaks the rules, and I always stood up. Even from school, I would always be the person that all teachers remember, the supervisors and the principal.
Tooting your own horn.
Oh yeah, right. So yeah, I always stood out against the crowd.
What happened with that comment?
I keep thinking about all these examples, right? So when I saw that thing, and I was that's so unfair. They wanted to obviously play it out as it was a black person trying to be unfair to a black person, but that's not what I saw. I just saw a policeman really taking advantage of his power and taking it too far. I felt like it was so unnecessary to stay there for so long. It's come on, dude. You don't need to be dude, if the guy needs to wants to run or says that you could have just hit him with the baton or shoot him on the leg or something, right? But it's like what could, like, if the guy didn't have a gun, like what could have been so wrong that you have to hold him down on the ground for so long? Like I just felt like it was completely unnecessary, and that cops should care for human life. That's what I thought. That was my immediate like instinctual thought.
Instinctual, I think.
Instinctual. Wow.
Word of the day.
And when I went on the comments, and so I was even on this Instagram group chat of all these people who were like, everybody, I swear to God, everybody was all up. I love you guys, so amazing. You know, Asperger's people are so da-da-da. And I've always kind of had this Asperger's quote of the day that would just share things da-da-da. And it just kind of, it was kind of like a very positive sharing kind of thing. One of the guys that liked me added me to the group chat, and I would just be kind enough to just like the comments and be like, oh, whatever. But I never really been a group chat kind of person. And yeah, like I'm not rude, so I would answer sometimes. But then when this happened, I saw people going like crazy on the group chat, and I was like, "Yes, this is unbelievable, guys." They were like, "Black Lives Matter, yeah, like, all lives matter, guys. This is awful, right? All lives matter." And oh my god, might as well me like saying like I believe in Nazism, because they went crazy on me. They were like, "No, not all lives matter. Black lives matter." That's how they told me. And I was like, yeah, but also all lives matter.
Yes.
Like, yes, all lives matter. Like, black lives are, in that all lives matter. And they're like, no, you can't say that. You can't say that. It's all lives matter. When all lives matter, when black lives matter. Da-da-da-da-da. Mm-hmm. And then I just went off on this conversation. I was like, I don't know, something got me really hooked into like, bitch, you're not gonna make me say Black Lives Matter.
Oh,
Milo, stop it.
Milo, go.
No, I can't. Okay. So I was like, you're not gonna make me say Black Lives Matter. That sounds ridiculous. That sounds like you're saying that everybody's against black people, mm-hmm. and I just don't feel comfortable saying that.
Don't believe that.
I don't truly believe that. I know that maybe some people are racist, but I seriously doubt that
that cop wanted to
cops
kill him.
Go around just because he's black. Like I think just people in power. Like I seen it in Mexico. I seen cops being abusive in Mexico. Like, and what was it gonna be their excuse? Because
they're Mexican.
Yeah. What square, what clique am I gonna pick to make it seem like his abusiveness is worse than what it is? It's abuse. Bottom line, it's abuse. It's ridiculous. It's wrong. Power, yeah. It's abuse of power. It's wrong. It's wrong that you can think you can do that and not watch yourself. And the fact that the other cops didn't try to stop it or do anything about it, I feel like that was cowardness. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of like why people tend to stand and bystand and watch something that just is obviously wrong and don't do anything about it. The same thing happens with the Nazis. We're just kind of like so many of them, just people are just afraid to stand up to authority. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people really start believing the narrative, and that is an example that just shows us, all of us, it has nothing to do with being German, it has nothing to do with being Nazi, it has everything to do with being human. That just shows that any human, any one person has the capability of being, once you let people push you to do something that goes like just a little bit off your moral ground, what you believe to be right, there's no stopping the pushing. Like you can be pushed to do things that you would never think that you were capable of doing. So yeah, there is a lot of pushing. That's why a lot of women end up in prostitution or end up doing, even like, not only they end up in prostitution, but they end up prostituting other women. Like once you get pushed just a little bit off, it's just a little bit more pushing, and then you do things that you weren't. Yeah, there's so many people that have come back out of that and have shared their experience. How like they never thought, they don't understand how they ended up so far deep into these kinds of things. And it just, that's what it is. And that right there, that was to me the breaking point. That was where I thought, okay, something is just not okay, and then I started like seeing things.
Stop. Fuck.
Yeah, I guess I have to make another video about all this, but basically that's when it started. That's where I realized that I needed to take a step back and really question what was all this. I guess I already had to see it coming. I seen multiple little red flags, like the censoring, sensibility. There was another creator also mentioned a lot about like these terms that were so familiar to me, like
Political correctness.
the political correctness, the censoring, all these stuff. And I remember that they hated Trump. I remember that all of them like hated Trump a lot, and I remember one of the few videos I would see about Trump, because I wouldn't really follow him or anything like that. Like I said, I wasn't political. And I remember Trump saying like, oh yeah, I don't like political correctness. I don't like political correctness. We need to stop that. You know, we need to stop policing, you know, people, political correctness, and woke. I don't like woke, he said. And I was like, why do I like what he says? You know, why do I feel like this is like I have more in common with Trump than I have with all these people that I've been literally kissing ass for like a fucking year or for a long time. Like I became very, very active for like a year or so. And yeah, and that's just kind of like how I just started I guess like I started following some people. I can't remember who was the first person, but yeah, I started following people. And you also started in a journey of like self-improvement, right? So we started like on different journeys. Martin started a more like self-improvement kind of journey, and you started listening to people that were aligned, like pushing towards like Republican views, right?
Yeah. So I noticed a big difference. Before I would listen to this podcast, The Breakfast Club, a lot, and then like, cause I like listen to. There was like a couple other podcasts that I would listen to that had to do with hip hop, and then that was more like, you know, they touched on topics of like current events going on. So I like listening to that too.
Which one again?
The Breakfast Club.
The Breakfast Club.
But then also I was at the same time like listening to I think the PBD podcast was barely coming up at that time.
How did you get into how did you hear about the PBD?
I started hearing
the
like podcasts
and
it just how did it happen? I think on YouTube. I just started seeing him like videos on YouTube first, and then I started getting into the podcast. So it just kind of started from there, and then I was just seeing like these like different viewpoints, you know. So because there will be more like you could tell they were very biased and into the black community, right? In the Breakfast Club, they do all this like, I guess they
did believe for a while they would believe a lot of woke stuff and like inequality,
especially
and all
when all
things.
that thing happened with Jussie Smollett.
Who's that?
So he claimed it was on the movie I Am Racist that we watched the other day. So
I want to talk about that.
He claimed that he wasn't going to Subway. He got jumped.
Oh.
And then he ended up with the noose around his neck. Turned out to be a hoax. He faked the whole thing.
Really?
Yeah. So even the Breakfast Club was running with this story, and they're like, "Damn, you see, like all this was happening around that time with George Floyd too. It was like around that time." So
what the hell?
And then
are crazy.
Or like kind of like just believing all that stuff, and then once the PBD podcast came out, like more, they were like coming up more. I started getting to other the guests that they would talk to. They would talk to guests, so I started learning from researching them, and then I started kind of just leaning more on that side, more than this side. So yeah, it just kind of slowly started from there, and then listening to just like retired veterans, military guys and stuff too. So
that was. I think we need to talk more about.
And then also, for me, my journey has been like as this entrepreneur with our business. So
it's like it's a long story how we got into this.
That gets into like working out and this and that. So yeah.
And I was. It was funny, but I was still listening to like watching because media is 90% biased. I remember considering I heard Kamala spoke one time. I saw a video. and she gave a speech or a debate or something, and I was like, oh, you know, she sounds nice, she sounds cool, like I thought, right? And then I told my sister, and then I seems like her husband, who's Japanese, he's very well read, he does a lot of research, and despite all of his friends, and I like the fact that he's very also like, he likes to go against the curve himself, he likes to be like a free thinker, and all of his friends were very like against Trump, but he did research and he ended up learning why, you know, Trump's policies were better. He just generally liked Trump's policies and thought they were better for the economy. And I remember that Trump was already president, and the re-elections were coming, and I didn't know who to vote for. I was just kind of like, oh, what do you guys think about who was right? It was the Democrats had multiple people at the time, right? Like, they didn't even have like Biden was kind of came like towards the end. But I thought I had to vote Democratic, so I still kind of had that mindset, like just vote against Trump, because I didn't even know what he had done. Like, I had no idea what he had done. Like, it's so funny. You don't realize what presidents do. You just realize that the economy just seemed fine. Everything seemed cool, and our business was doing well actually under Trump. And then it was a huge. Well, a lot of businesses suffered so much. Thank God our business didn't suffer as much. I don't know what we would have done. And it's funny because, well, that's another story. But he's the one that told me, like, you know what, I told my sister, like, oh, like, Kamala, da-da-da. She seems cool. She was like, no, she's a lying, freaking, manipulative, socialist, da-da-da. What are you talking about? Like, do you even know her background, da-da-da? And I was like, whoa, really? And that's when they started talking to us about Trump. But you had already been kind of like considering too, right? Like hearing good stuff about Trump or the Republicans. You had already been in that. Was it very recently?
No, yeah, I was already on that, and because I remember like the last time we voted, right, was in 2016, which I guess we didn't vote for either candidate, not for Hillary, not for Trump.
Did we not? We did not vote for Hillary?
No, it was like the Joe Jorgensen, like the independent.
But what independent, huh?
Independent,
yeah.
And then,
I used to vote independent a lot.
And then after that, it was like
I didn't vote for Obama.
We started learning more like towards the end of the next election. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why like you realize that your independent vote is good for nothing.
Yeah. And then the next time around we did vote for Trump.
Yeah.
But that's such bullshit with the election. Dude.
I was so sure he was gonna win. The mail-in ballots, that was such a scam.
Yeah, man, like this.
Yeah, that's another one that people really think.
That's the first time they did that, huh?
People really think.
That's the first time that ever happened?
Yeah, that's the first time, of course. It's so weird that right before the elections that we get this massive, like, closing down.
Black Swan event is called.
Black Swan event?
Yeah,
oh, wow.
It's like one of the crazy event, like, just out of nowhere, right? Like, because, swans are, like, supposed to be white. And, like, once in a while you get a black swan.
Really? Oh, that's crazy.
That's just a term, but yeah, that was such BS on that one, dude.
Yeah, I never saw the part where like Trump. I did see like Trump doesn't want to believe that he lost. I never saw like go and protest. He didn't said to go and protest peacefully. I just think that the people got violent because Americans on their own. We're just angry. We're very angry. We're very fed up after being locked up for so many months. All these businesses failing. All this shit happening. All these people. It was a lot of horrible things happening all at once. And then Trump loses. On top of that, people just had it. They were just angry. So I think they just got angry and went. I think Trump should have never said anything because people would have still protested regardless. Just how the Civil War happened, like, people would have just protested regardless. They don't need somebody telling them, like, go and protest. People were angry and they got crazy in the White House because when, I guess, the momentum of having so many people together, I think just makes that people just kind of feel the energy and some people just got really crazy. Which is wrong because they ended up hurting Trump more than they helped them. But yeah, they were just angry at like I didn't know any of this at the time, but they were just angry. For example, Pelosi. Pelosi's been in power for so long. She's like the chair. She's kind of like almost like the puppet master of
The DNC.
The not the DNC, the whole house. The what is the branch, the presidential branch is called the
Legislature.
the legislative branch. She has massive power, and she's the one that brought Kamala into, like, what's it would help Kamala rise all the way to the top. Like, she pulls all the strings, and she was the one that really wanted to get Trump out of office. So I don't think that just how the vice president and the president get reelected and they cannot stay there for too long. Freaking Nancy Pelosi, are you kidding me? She's been in power for what, like 30 something years? Like, that is ridiculous. They should be reelected just how the president and the vice president get reelected. There's no way that you should have somebody in that position for that long. Might as well have the same precedent. If the president if she gets to get reelected, the president should get to get reelected. I think that's one of the things that need to change. This is insane how much power this crazy lady has. And then why doesn't she die already? It's ridiculous. And basically, and remember I told you,
for a long
so the whole thing about Obama not being born in the U.S. seems like it's more true, like pretty true, has more true basis than.
That's really true.
What it
like,
says.
Dude, it's already like then.
That is
they
crazy.
would have to take out that law that that you're a natural born citizen. I think. Like, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do?
You can't take out the law.
But they broke it already.
Well, they need to pay. There needs to be consequences for that. Because let me show you this.
Needs to be consequences.
So this guy, look, let me just show you really quick. So you have to follow this account called Wolves and Finance. He makes really good research on all these topics and explains everything very, very with facts and everything. So I really recommend it. I just want to put a little clip of this of his episode. Proof Obama's birth certificate is fake.
With all of the lies and deception we have seen lately in politics, I thought it would be a good idea to revisit a major question from the past. Whatever happened to Obama's birth certificate? Barack Obama's mother against Hillary Clinton during the 2000... The rumors about Obama's birth certificate started during his campaign against Hillary Clinton during the 2008 Democrat primary. Her supporters sent around an email that attacked Obama and said Barack Obama's mother was living in Kenya with his Arab African father late in her pregnancy. She was not allowed to travel by plane then, so Barack Obama was born there, and his mother then took him to Hawaii to register his birth. This whole controversy was started by Democrats who did not think Obama was born in America. Then there was other information that confirmed the rumors. Obama's literary agent had Obama's bio posted on their website that stated Obama was born in Kenya and raised in Indonesia and Hawaii. This statement remained on the agent's website from 1991 to 2007. Then, there was a recorded phone call with Obama's grandmother in Kenya, where she explains that she was there when Obama was born in Kenya.
So I would like to see his birthplace when I come to Kenya in December. Was she present when he was born in Kenya?
Now, Democrats claim that this conversation was cut off and that directly after this statement, Obama's grandmother contradicts herself and says, Obama in Hawaii. She says he was born in Hawaii. The Democrats have never explained why she contradicts herself, and so the rumors continued. To combat the rumors, Obama released this document in June 2008. This is a short-form birth certificate. Then Obama won the presidential election in 2008 against John McCain. Donald Trump began raising questions about whether the birth certificate was legitimate. It was odd that Obama refused to release his long-form birth certificate. Why wouldn't he just hand it over? What was taking so long? In 2011, Obama finally released the long-form birth certificate to the public. Trump held a press conference and said this.
Today, I'm very proud of myself because I've accomplished something that nobody else has been able to accomplish. I was just informed while on the helicopter that our president has finally released a birth certificate. I'd want to look at it, but I hope it's true.
After this press conference, most people dropped the birth certificate issue. You can still go and look at the files. They are available for download on obamawhitehouse.archives.gov. You can see the long-form birth certificate and the short-form birth certificate. But wait a minute.
What's the difference?
The short form certificate has been changed. This was not the same one they released before. Do you remember? It was on the green security paper. Why would they change the file for the short form birth certificate? That's strange. A small group of people started to review the files. They found a number of pieces of evidence that the long form birth certificate was a fake. In 2016, at the end of Obama's presidency, the sheriff in Arizona, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, held a press conference calling for further investigations of the birth certificate.
Today you will be presented with an in-depth executive summary of our investigation into the matter, which we now have concluded to be a fraudulently created document which has been represented as an official copy of the original birth certificate of President Obama.
After this news conference, Joe Arpaio's life was destroyed. You need to understand, this was not some crazy person. Joe Arpaio was a popular leader in Arizona. He had been running police investigations his entire career. It was a huge deal for him to come out with such strongly worded statements. But after this press conference, he was faced with lawfare, non-stop lawsuits. After all the lawsuits, Joe Arpaio lost his job, and the investigations into Obama's birth certificate never went anywhere. In 2017, Donald Trump started his presidency, and everyone dropped the issue over Obama's birth certificate. I think it's important to identify what raised the concerns about Obama. To start with, his Social Security number is strange. We know his Social Security number because it is on his tax forms. I'm sure you're aware that it's customary for presidents to release their tax forms. When Obama released his tax forms, the Social Security number was blacked out. But he did not redact it properly. If you take the PDF file and open it in a program like Adobe Photoshop, you can tell the PDF file has two layers. The top layer has the redaction, which you can remove to see the Social Security number underneath. So we have the number Obama has been using to file his taxes. Now, I'm not going to show the Social Security number here, but it is available on his tax forms. Now, you can take any Social Security number and figure out where it was issued. Obama's Social Security number is from a batch that was issued in Connecticut in 1977. That was the year Obama was 15 years old and living in Hawaii. How in the world could Obama get a Connecticut Social Security number when he never lived in Connecticut? Another question raised during the campaign was...
Okay, so I want you guys to go and watch this video. He goes on about going detail by detail. They I don't know if he's an expert or hire an expert to know, like, people that what do you call it, they analyze documents or fraudulent, like people that people know how to tell if a document is altered or fraud or scam and all that stuff. And they go into every single detail about how the birth certificate it was altered, and it's not a real document. It was created, it was falsified, and for real, like, you can see, like, they go, just any of those details, like, already makes you realize that, oh yeah, for sure it's a fraud. But he points every single, like, shows multiple proof of the fraudulentness of nature of the document. And I just want to show the very end of this to be like, why does that matter, right? Like, why is that this law where, like, you need to be born in this country is so important?
That the birth certificate is legitimate. Broad daylight and get away with it. When Trump does nothing wrong.
Okay.
How it's all right. I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds like cheating. It sounds like the Democrats are a bunch of cheaters. Obama's birth certificate looks like a forgery. How is it that Obama can do something so illegal in broad daylight and get away with it when Trump does nothing wrong and he is persecuted? Why is that? It sounds like a two-tiered justice system, but it's more sinister than that. If Obama was born outside the country, that means he's an illegal immigrant. There's no evidence that he ever legally became a citizen of the United States. Unless Obama can explain why he's using a Connecticut Social Security number, he should be arrested immediately. His U.S. passport should be frozen, and he should be deported as an illegal immigrant. There really are not that many requirements to be president. One of the few requirements is that you have to be born in this country. The reason is so we don't get a leader who has loyalties to other nations. We want leaders who will put America first. Obama grew up in countries around the world that do not necessarily like the U.S. Is it any wonder that the current Democrat policy is to let in as many illegal immigrants as possible? Obama, who is still influencing policy, would want more illegal immigrants like himself to come in and destroy the country. All of the mess that this country is currently in can be traced back to this birth certificate. This lie started everything. All of the evidence was there that this was a fake. And because nobody wanted to call this out and make a big deal about it, is the reason why we are in our situation today. It was wrong then, and it is wrong now. And Obama needs to be held accountable for the crimes that he committed against the American people. The Republicans have subpoena power in Congress. Let's start asking some questions. To pull off this fraud, Obama had to work with the governor of Hawaii to cover it up. It's time to put some people on the stand and get the documents that the people in Hawaii will not let anyone see. It is time to expose that Obama's birth certificate is not real. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think that Obama's birth certificate is real? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. For a quick update, my channel has had a hard time lately. At the beginning of December, I posted a video with new footage from January 6th. And ever since I posted that video, for some reason, my videos on YouTube have been suppressed all month long.
Yeah, it always happens. Like, there's certain keywords you cannot mention on YouTube because it messes you up. That's crazy. Like, the more you find out things, is the more you realize, like, the Democratic Party is completely corrupted. It's full of lies. That's not even the worst part. I mean, it makes sense that they will bring somebody like Obama and he will do all these things to be able to. There's some deep things that a lot of people say, like, oh, they're associated with these families that want to take over the world. What is very clear is that the more progressive their policies get, the more we get pushed to socialism. And I would like to talk about in other episodes about how, just no matter what, it's been proven socialism never works. I've been following a lot of things that happen in other countries like Argentina, how the new president just explains very good how Argentina was hugging the whole socialism ideals, and they kept believing these socialists. They kept believing in these leaders. They kept believing, and they just got more poor and poorer. And Argentina was a beautiful country. It had so much potential. Like I had no idea how beautiful it was. It's like Europe over there. It's beautiful, and they just got so poor. Their money got so devaluated, or is that how you say devalued? Diluted and stuff, that it was worth nothing. Like, even Mexicans will go over to Argentina and could live very comfortable or have like very nice vacations over there because of how little everything costs. And they will apply things such as rent control. They will apply things of control on prices. Is it called a gouge control or something like so?
Price gouging.
So control on that. They will stop. This is called stop price gouging, right? So the prices won't go up based on market.
Yeah, I'm not sure too sure about that, but. Yeah,
and so all these things, he explains everything. He's a neoliberalist, and how he's going to rescue Argentina. And it seems already his policies are starting to show some positive results. And it's just insane, like how ignorant people are here in the U.S. and they don't want to open their eyes. They don't want to research and learn more, and they're so focused on their feelings, they're so focused on what sounds nice, and just it all goes back to how they always use these words as racism. They just shut people's mouths by calling them racist, and yeah, that's it. Like, whatever they say doesn't matter, it doesn't count. So it's like, I never understood, like, why do you care so much for somebody to be racist or not be racist? Like, shouldn't you care that they know how to do their job? It's like, why would you think that somebody like Kamala, who's just been like a government freaking judge or a government whatever the hell, right? That just all through favoritism, she got her positions, that she has any idea how to run a country versus somebody who has run multiple businesses. Like, why?
I was president already. Once.
Yeah, and who was already a president, and the country was doing so good. It's like, why does it matter that you think like, oh yeah, because he's, he said things that you think he's a racist? Like, first of all, obviously it was taken out of context. You should never believe anything the media tells you. First of all, second of all, even if you really want to believe that, it's like, what makes you think that there's other reasons why they really emphasizing on racism? And you should know that politics really watch what they say. Trump is not a politician. He's not trained to talk like a politician. Politics do. So just because they say nice words doesn't mean that they mean them.
Yeah.
Judge them by their actions. I don't know. This is insane, and the fact that it's all radicalized now, all this gender ideologies is getting into schools. It's more and more. Like I said, we're living a South Park episode, and that's what gets me really concerned. Once it becomes is infringing on all these social issues, that's where I realized, like, yeah, we need to get involved. We need to learn more.
Reality. Infringing with a reality.
Yeah, with objective reality.
Right.
It's just so much gaslighting, so much like they're telling you how to think. They're dividing all of us in these little groups. Like, Democrats treat all of us as a collective. They put us in these little groups, and they put us against each other. They want us to fight against each other, and they're silencing us. They're trying to get the whole. I posted this video, right, about the whole scandal of, because we live in the LA County here in Santa Rita, the whole scandal of the San Fernando Valley or city, where they wanted to take the children to be read books at the library by this drag person. Like, what is, like,
Why?
How do you get so many people to be okay with this? Like, it wasn't just one person taking the children. It was the teacher, the principal, the people. Just like, how nobody thought for a second, not for a second, that was just not okay. That will never be okay with the parents. Why lie to the parents? Like, have people gone insane? Like, how people really lost their ability to rationalize and say, no, this is not okay. You are repeating the same pattern. Same pattern that these Nazis did. Same pattern that these cops did when, Floyd was being choked on the ground. It's the same pattern. You're being a bystander. You're saying nothing about it. You're not standing on what you're obviously seeing. It's not okay. It's not okay to do that. Yeah. Why are you not standing up?
And yeah, that's why we want to do these podcasts and just talk about these issues. And, the more conversations we have about this, the more people are going to hear about it, and which is a good thing, which the conversations need to be had. And we need to start solidifying these values and morals of what's right and what's wrong. We can't just be, accepting what these groups want to tell us that they want to enforce on us, right? Like these terms, like pronouns and stuff. Like, come on.
Yeah, you need to be more involved in Twitter, because thanks to Elon Musk. Sorry, Twitter, X Twitter,
formerly known as.
So there's been bought by Elon Musk. Thank God, where now freedom of speech it's allowed there. You're allowed to share whatever the hell you want, whether it's information or misinformation. Doesn't matter. You're speaking of your mind. You're sharing things, and it's up to people whether they want to believe it or not.
Dude, there was a hashtag going on. I think the other day it was trending on X that it was saying deport Elon Musk.
Really?
Yeah, dude.
They're so hypocritical.
And he leaves it up. He leaves it up because that's people's opinion. You know?
Opinion, yeah.
Yeah.
It's because you block one person, you go down that slippery slope.
Opinion, dude. You just these conversations, the best ideas are gonna win, right? Like,
yeah.
That's why
I want to start.
Speech is very important.
I wanna create a playlist here on. I had another playlist on my other YouTube, my Spanish YouTube channel. I want to create another playlist here of all the different documentaries that I really recommend watching. I've been watching a lot of them from one of these pages called Frontline. And it talks about how Elon Musk got the Twitter. It's really interesting, really interesting. And it explains how a lot of these, you can get to know a lot of these different commentators.
Like 40 billion. I think it was like 40 billion, dude.
I know, but he bought it just so that we have back our freedom of speech. Yes, this is insane. Like, I have gained massive respect for Elon Musk. Like, I never used to follow people for no reason. Like, if you're somebody that really... that I can just admire, like, I'm gonna follow you. And anyways, so it explains, this is commentators who also say, right, like, oh, once you go down that slippery slope, like, there is no stopping when you start censoring certain things. They're not convenient to you, right? Then what else is there to censor? Like, it just, now things that you would think, like, are you kidding me? This is being censored. For example, you cannot say the word that starts with the P. The PEDO word. You cannot say it. Okay, you gotta watch the worst because I don't want to go through this whole podcast.
Apparently, since we're on
I'm only gonna scan through it, so I'm gonna cut certain things.
Social platforms. We can't say things. So
you can't say that word. Why? Why can you not say that word? Because I feel like the algorithm knows that if you say that word, you're most likely going to criticize it. People
talking bad about it.
Yeah, so people don't wanna. They don't want people to be aware of anything related to that. So I just posted a video. So I post all the information I find. If you want to learn more about it, I'm going to be posting on my X. Any information that I feel like that will help you on your journey to learning about this, I'll have it on my X. And this latest page about this lady called this guy posted. Ask yourself, why are they investigating P. Diddy but never investigated Bill and Hillary Clinton with these very serious allegations from Kathy O'Brien? I didn't even know who she was. But I do remember on one of the documentaries I saw about Bill Clinton, something about the scandal with Monica Lewinsky wasn't the first one. There was another scandal. You know, so I can't remember if this is this girl or this is just another person. But she came out with the book and talks like there's this. Look, there's this.
Trauma to carry out my first trial run operation. An enormous quantity of cocaine had been flown in on one of these operations to deliver it into the neighboring state of Arkansas. By that time, Bill Clinton's drug operation was in full swing. He was governor of Arkansas.
And he delivered
this cocaine to a remote airport in Ouachita Forest, which I've since identified as Mena Airport. I also delivered a little packet of information and a small quantity of cocaine, a personal stash from J. Bennett Johnson, to Bill Clinton. I delivered it to Bill Clinton, and he cut out 2 lines of the coke, and he did inhale.
You got that good?
Dude, like they were, like you can see, they were hippies, they were liberals when Hillary and Clinton. Because this is very interesting. I want you guys to watch this this old piece of footage that I can't believe people forget. People forget. She talks about it in her book. So it seems like she knew them very well. She talks about how they, she did something about sexual favors or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. That they would have a lot of like bisexual like activity or ring things that they would do. Hillary as well. Like she says some wild,
orgies?
Something
Probably.
like that. Yeah. So she's some wild shit in this thing, and it's just kind of like, I mean, who dares to say something like that if it's not even at least a little bit of truth in that? Like, nobody would just say something wild if there's, there's a saying in Spanish that it basically says when the river sounds, it's because it's carrying rocks. The river sounds because it's carrying rocks. So it pretty much translates into, like, if there's some kind of noise, right? If you're hearing something, or some kind of rumor, it's because it carries somewhat of truth. So there's somewhat of truth there's some weight in it. Yeah. So when there's some wild accusation like that, it has to be for a reason. And, like, it's funny how people just forgot about these things. But no, but now there's this other part where, like, Hillary Clinton, now I'll show you this clip. Hillary Clinton says, if social media platforms don't censor content, we lose total control. Keyword total control. Like, they really want to keep us under control. And I reposted it, and it says, like, do we think that politicians or government should have total control on us? Like, do we really want that? Like, that's crazy that they just want to control us. Like, why do they want to control us? America doesn't stand for that. America and our Constitution, we're a constitutional republic for a reason, and we stand for individual freedom, not controlled freedom. So it's ridiculous. Like, that alone should tell something to people. But that's why I want to go and interview people and ask them about these things. Like, what do you think about the government trying to control us? But then they discarded it. So I will have to go and show person by person, like, what do you think about this clip? What do you think about this thing that, look at Clinton saying this. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? Like, we should do something like that, right?
And if the platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control. And it's not just the social and psychological effects, it's real harm.
And although she said moderate, right?
Situation.
Which Elon Musk said.
They're not ashamed of saying it anymore.
Elon Musk said moderation is a form of censorship.
It's a form of censorship. Yes. No, because when does that moderation becomes too moderated? Like, it's all, you leave it in the hands of, like, whoever's in charge of saying, I don't like what you're saying. I don't like that. Yeah. You can't do those things. Because once it starts, it's
open to
yeah. And I didn't know this. I didn't know this, but Obama tried to take away our guns. That was one of the policies he tried to pass, and it didn't go through. He tried to pass it, but people need to understand why we have guns. And the main guns that they want to take away from us are the ones that, like, the machine guns, the big guns that you can use in, like, I guess, war or whatever. Most of crimes are not done with those guns. Most of crimes are done with little guns. You can kill a lot of people with just a little handgun. People get those big guns to, I guess, rifles to just kind of, like, I guess they want to get crazy or send a message or whatever. But when people want to commit a crime, criminals do not follow laws. So they will figure it out. They will find a way. That is for sure. If we go down the rabbit hole of socialism and letting the government take control, how they did in Mexico, where they like, nobody owns guns over there. The citizens are completely they cannot protect themselves or stand against the government because the government has all the guns and citizens have no guns. The government and criminals, the cartel, have all the guns. Mm-hmm. Good citizens have no guns, which is very, very sad. You can be able to apply for a gun is very, very rigid. It's like almost nobody can do it. You have to go through a long, long process of doing it, and and there's only one place in Mexico where they sell these guns. So no, you do not want to do that. You have to look at the facts. Don't let people fool you with these sad stories, with these horrible things that are happening. I know it's horrible, but there has to be other way around to do that. And the Democrats don't want to do that. Like, they want to give guns to the teachers. Democrats don't want that. No, because it would go against what they want to push. Okay, so now the last video that I want to show you, it's this one. I want to end with that because I know if I don't show it right now, like, I don't know when we're going to do this podcast again. So
next week,
yeah. But I'll probably forget this. I'll probably forget about this. It talks about multiculturalism, and this kind of like just to round this this whole topic about how they want to manipulate us into believing that, you know, certain things are certain people are racist, certain systems are racist, the U.S. is racist, that are all these things, and how they keep us so divided. So divided, and I really recommend watching the movie Am I a Racist by Matt Walsh. What do you think about that? I loved that. I think it really showcased everything that's wrong with us as a society.
Yeah, it was a good take because I think, you know, dude, come on. Like, yeah, he made it like funny, right? Like a satire, but it kind of plays into like the you know, a lot of the good jokes are racist.
Yeah, a lot of the good.
It's just funny, dude.
He was
that's
trolling
like the
with
only
everyone.
way, like, we can, like, you know, people can laugh at that. It's like, yeah, you make a racist joke.
It was kind of like
friends and stuff, but it's like, dude, nobody's really fucking. I don't believe a lot of people are really racist, dude. Like,
no, that's not true.
What? Like, most people don't carry that hate in their heart, dude.
It's so funny how we're
they
like
might
so
have,
multicultural.
Stereotypes are a little bit like, you know, biased, but I mean, doesn't everybody have that a little bit?
Racist. They say Donald Trump is racist. For example, he had a black girlfriend. Tell me what racist would ever date somebody that is like at the very, like, you go complete opposite. If anything, I would understand Hispanic, but a racist wouldn't even date somebody Hispanic. You don't date somebody outside your race. That makes you racist. Mm-hmm. That's why you're racist, because you don't think. You know, you don't want to dilute or even have anything to do with anyone that is not your race.
There was I guess before Trump bought Mar-a-Lago. It was like segregated. He desegregated that. He allowed for blacks and Jews.
Where?
Like, Mar-a-Lago, where he lives.
Oh.
It's like the property in Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And he used to be a Democrat too, which I didn't know that. And he used to be so, like, best friends with a lot of black people. Like, he used to be really cool with Oprah. He used to be cool with a lot of black people. Because when you're... when something that does exist is classism. There's classes of people. There's different types of people. So you are going to hang out with people that share common ground. It doesn't matter how they look, their color of their skin. And we see that in Mexico, because in Mexico you see a lot of like light-skinned Mexicans and dark-skinned Mexicans. And I never seen people like not talk to the other person because they're darker skinned. It has everything to do with how they portray this. Obviously, your appearance, your outfit says a lot about you. And yeah, like it's just it blows my mind that people really think that people are not gonna. That don't like other people because of the color of their skin. That has nothing. It's all with your character, the build of your character, and which is what is so like great about that movie, Matt Walsh movie, because he's literally kind of, I feel like he's portraying like one of those South Park episodes. Like he made like a live, like true documentary of us. Like he was kind of like a South Park. He was like that. He became this character, right? That was just trolling with everyone. So he made this reality into like kind of like showcases like kind of like a South Park episode where he was actually acting like he was a liberal. He was a liberal and fuck with everyone. Fuck with liberals, like telling them what they wanted to hear, but then like showing them how ridiculous they sounded, and then people were just, because most of the time liberals that interact with other liberals, they just be like, oh yeah, and there's always one person talking and everybody just kind of nodding. But he would always on all these groups, you know, so he would be just kind of like saying something, and that's because I like this, and I have 17 black friends, and let's cheer for racism. And he was always just kind of like wanna like speak, like being this kind of guy that will speak of his mind, but in a very like he was not like on his DEI journey, like optimism, right? Like he just wanted to talk about how like he wanted to, you know, end racism and all these things.
He was the most DEI.
The most DEI person. Like, so he was this optimist person, and just by being this, showcasing himself as an optimist, he will showcase how ridiculous a lot of it sounded. So you could see it in these people's eyes where they just be like, okay, but they didn't want to. Yeah, like they kind of like. They will see it, but they didn't want to like think wrong, or like they really thought that he was like, they didn't want to like think wrong about him. Okay, so let's just watch this video really quick.
I think I just heard Jack.
Bad ideas never seem to die. Multiculturalism is one of them. Wait a second, I can hear you saying, multiculturalism is a beautiful idea. The mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, would agree with you. he never tires of saying that diversity is our greatest strength. In Australia, people from all sides of the political spectrum talk proudly of being the most successful multicultural society in the world. Europe and the US, we are told to celebrate multiculturalism, or else be branded a xenophobe, a racist, or both. And what, after all, is the problem with a society made up of different people all coming together to pull in the same direction? The answer is nothing. But that's not what multiculturalism means. It's not at all about pulling in the same direction. Multiculturalism is about people coming to the West and forming their own communities with their own rules and practices. In the eyes of multiculturalists, e pluribus unum, out of many one, the great goal of America, and until now the great achievement of America, is just another form of colonialism. It imposes American and Western values on the non-Western immigrants who come here. Immigrants, therefore, need to cling to the cultures of the countries from which they came and stay separate. Instead of e pluribus unum, the multiculturalists advocate for e pluribus pluribus, out of many, many.
Wow.
It's true that we live in multi-ethnic societies, that is, societies that are home to people from different ethnic and religious backgrounds. And that can bring huge benefits. Talented immigrants come to the West to open businesses, pay taxes, and start families. The founder of NVIDIA is from Taiwan. The CEO of Microsoft is from India. Elon Musk is from South Africa. But multiculturalism is the exact opposite of this multi-ethnic merging, the e pluribus unum idea. It's about encouraging immigrants not to merge. American liberals have always looked to Sweden as the kind of society they want America to emulate. Crime-free, with a generous welfare system, free healthcare, and free college education. But that Sweden was a cohesive society based on shared values, one language, and social solidarity. No longer. Today, the Swedish dream looks more like a Swedish nightmare. Over 2 million of Sweden's 10 million people are now foreign-born, more than double the number in 2000. This experiment has not gone well. Sweden now has the highest rate of gang killings in Europe. Several areas are officially classified as especially vulnerable, meaning areas where it is very difficult for the police to operate. The governor of the Bank of Sweden told the Financial Times the growing crime problem is so serious it risks damaging the country's long-term economic growth. The problem is not confined to Sweden. All over Europe, crime is up sharply. One of the primary reasons is multiculturalism. In Britain, hundreds of thousands of young women and girls have suffered horribly at the hands of so-called grooming gangs. Groups of men from ethnic minority backgrounds who target vulnerable girls for sexual abuse.
So same thing happens here.
When this abuse is reported to the authorities, instead of bringing the perpetrators to justice, these crimes are covered up by social workers, police officers, and the local government officials who are afraid of being called racist. The only way multi-ethnic societies can work is if we all play by the same rules and live by the same basic moral values. People like me, who come from other places, must be encouraged to assimilate. Immigrants must learn the language, adapt to local customs, and become full citizens with both rights and responsibilities. The onus should be on the immigrant, not the host country. At my doctor's office in East London, I regularly encounter paperwork that's been translated into a dozen languages. It's not what assimilation looks like. When I first moved to England, my parents discovered that I had made friends with other Russian-speaking kids at my school. Well, they said, if that carries on, we'll have to find you a new school. You didn't come here to be a Russian in Britain, they explained. You came here to be British. Does what I'm saying sound controversial? If it does, you might be surprised to hear that the former German Chancellor Angela Merkel admitted this truth back in 2010 when she said, multiculturalism has utterly failed. A year later, former British Prime Minister David Cameron said the same thing. So did former French President Nicolas Sarkozy and former Spanish President José María Aznar. Multiculturalism has failed in Europe not because we did it badly, but because it's a bad idea. It will fail in the US for the same reason. We either stand as one nation, united by a common purpose and common values, or we fall as competing tribes. Diversity is not our greatest strength. Unity is. I'm Konstantin Kisin, co-host of the Trigonometry podcast for Prager University.
Okay, so multiple things about that.
That's crazy.
That is Konstantin Kisin, very smart guy. He used to be a comedian, or was probably still is, but he's been doing more political commentating now. Does a lot of research. He's extremely smart. So a couple things about that video. That it's like I 100% agree. Like everything he says makes total sense because I see it. I saw it the moment I moved to this country. Like you can see it in schools, you can see it in prisons. When you go to school, you have all these different kids. In the U.S., like in Mexico, remember, we will segregate, but we will segregate by the popular, the nerdies, just different. It was diversity of mindsets, and they will segregate in that sense that they would like not really hang out, but they would still kind of like talk to you. There was still a little bit of a there was still there was no such thing as like people never talking to certain groups. Like they would still we're all Mexican. We just kind of like will get more along with these people than with those other people. There was never like a straight up division. But here in the U.S., you always see that in schools. Like Hispanic kids hang out with Hispanic kids. White kids hang out with white kids, black kids hang out with black kids, and what I always see very prominently is that Asian kids hardly ever hang out with other kids that are not Asian. That is, if you cannot, I feel like liberals just don't want to really see or be okay with human nature. They want to impose their belief system to control, and they want to keep this division going because division, people, like they say, right, you divide and conquer. I don't understand why division really leads to conquering, but it just does. It's been proven over and over again.
That weakens the unity, right?
Exactly.
There's no unity, so people don't stand together.
Don't stand together. They stand together like this. That's what the Democrats say. They say like, "Hey, I want to. I'll have your interest. I'm gonna help your group with this, and I'm gonna help your group with that. I'm gonna help your group with that." And then they end up not communicating with each other, not realizing like, well, I don't care what's beneficial to them. I care what's beneficial to me, and I don't care for they end up not caring for other people. They're not caring for the whole nation as a whole. And I really think that it just goes down to, I feel like every nation usually tends to have its culture, and it should be that way. If you want to move to another country, if you want to move to Africa, if you want to move to China, wherever, you should adapt. You shouldn't come and try to impose your ways and make your own little community there.
That's why.
Like, what the hell is that?
That's what I was saying. Like the values of America need to be like reestablished. You know? What does it mean to be American?
What does it mean to be American? Exactly.
And not just it's cool to have like your heritage and your culture and stuff, but like the things that you do as an American is like let's just work towards that.
Keep talking. I'm just gonna move the battery.
And that's what I was just gonna say. So that's why like the values to be of being an American need to be reestablished. And
so the other one is that remember I told you the other day, like, when have you ever seen a gang of white boys? Like, organized gangs here in the U.S. that are just all white boys. I mean, at least
motorcycle gangs?
Huh?
Motorcycle gangs?
Motorcycle gangs, but they're...
what do you mean by white boys?
Like, criminal activity gangs. Like,
but what do you mean by white boys, though?
Like, they're all white.
Like preppy white boys? Or like...
No, they're just white.
Anybody that's gonna form a gang is because they're like, they come from poverty. That's usually like that starts to happen.
Yeah, that's usually the idea, because the lack of morals. My dad told me once that usually the people on the polls, like really, really poor people, really, really rich people, are the ones that commit the most crimes, the ones that have the least moral compass. Yeah, most people that are in the middle, like middle class, have the most strong morals. But anyways, I just noticed that every time that there's like any kind of like gang, whether it's just like tagging gang or they sell drugs or something like that, it's usually Hispanics. And I'm sorry, but there is a lot of poor white people here in the U.S. Mm-hmm. There actually, as a matter of fact, there's more poor white people than Hispanics and blacks, because they are majority. They are always going to be the majority. Well, I don't want to say that, but right, so far they're still the majority, and you don't see a lot of I mean, there is a lot of, they do a lot of drugs. They do tend to kind of like there is their aspect where like they become drug addicts or whatever. And
but yeah, no, there's no real
but I don't see like
white gang, right?
White gangs here, at least
other than in prison,
states like in California.
Other than in prison,
they form their gangs.
I don't think there is.
Yeah, I never seen
if there is white gangsters, like they will join either like a Mexican or a black gang.
Or a black, They tend to really join more. Yeah, either or, but usually it's, I guess it depends on the area. But yeah, it's usually like black kids. Not black kids. Black people committing crimes such as, and they tend to like they're the ones that prostitute their women. Right, like in the black community, they tend to do that a lot more than the Hispanic community. They tend to wanna always run these prostitution rings in the black community and the Hispanic community. They tend to run a lot of a little bit of everything, right? But mainly like a lot of drug rings and selling and all these things and joining these young kids and just having this poor
the whole
drug
gang culture
mindset.
started in Los Angeles and in the poor areas, which were kind of segregated areas where it would be mostly Mexicans or mostly blacks.
Yeah, but don't you think that's strange though? Because when I lived in Mexico, in high school it was popular to be part of a clique, to be like, they will skateboard together, they will tag together. They just kind of like, it was more like the cool kids trying to get into trouble or whatever. But then they will grow up and they will grow out of it. There was never like any seriousness and like these gangs being created. Like when I moved to the US, that's when I noticed that every single kid in my block belonged to a gang, and if you were from this block, you have to be part of the block's gang and do what they said and just kind of like try to prove that you were like a badass and you were a gangster. And I just never understood like why was that the norm, because I went to a public school right before I moved here. I went to a public school for a year. It was a very great experience for me because I met a lot of people that didn't come from privilege, and they were humble people. They were cool people. I never saw any gang, none of that gang thing that would say, none of that. I never saw any of that. I only saw it when I moved here to the U.S. So it just leads me, now that I'm seeing this video, leads me to believe that is it the fact that they feel that they're now immediately confronted with other diverse group that has clashing ideas, clashing cultures with their culture, that makes them have to like what's the word, like they go into a group, into a clique, right, or into a little colonial what is the word they use, colonialism and
colony,
like become like a colony, kind of like a little, hey, we need to team up, we need to group up in case we need to fight against these other people. So it's just immediately these kinds of like natural instincts that people do, where they just group up and become this kind of like organized kind of gang, and they do organized crime just to protect, because instead of uniting, you have this whole block where you have Africans and African Americans or blacks and Mexicans, and instead of like being cool with each other, they separate and they kind of like beef. And then you see it in jail too. They don't get along.
It's like the most racist place there.
Yes. When I went,
about racism.
When I experienced being in jail. Actually, it's crazy long story, but I was only there for 3 days for like missing court and driving without a license, and of course, like I would have to have that in part of my journey. But I went there and they were so amazed. Like the black girls, I ended up sitting down. I'm going to talk about this on another video, but I ended up sitting down at the black girls' table, and they were just shocked that a Hispanic person would just sit at a black girl's table. Like they didn't understand. I think their assumption was that I would hang out with the black girls, or that I like black girls, because then, like almost immediately, a little bit after that, I had black girls approaching me and asking me if I needed anything and if I needed an extra shirt, because they were not getting like extra. The bottom shirt, the white shirt, was kind of like a plus thing, like you wouldn't just get it. So I had this like very simple shirt on me that was really cold. I would get really cold. The baby's awake. So let me just close the door really quick. So basically, she would ask me if I needed a shirt, if I needed this, if I needed that, And I had multiple girls approach me, and I was like, thank you. And it was just odd, but now it makes sense. It's because they were just so shocked that I was just in their table, like nobody's business. Like I just went and sat down there. Yeah. And they just couldn't believe it, because the system has programmed people. And not only the system has programmed people into like have this mindset and these complexes, right? But also it's nature that when you come from such different kind of like culture, you're gonna clash. So they should have implemented this. When people move to this country, they should have enforced. When people move to Mexico, are you kidding me? You know my friend Constantine. Well, I have another friend who's Russian, whose name is Constantine. He had to become Mexican. He's the most Mexican Russian you'll ever meet. Because when you go to Mexico, you become Mexican. You want to go get him? Okay. Okay, so yeah, pretty much I seen it because I lived in both countries for long enough to tell the difference, to see the difference. And sadly, I'm in the vast minority, because a lot of people are not in my situation where I grew up I was able to live like 20 years or 18 years in Mexico, see the difference. But also I grew up in a social class where I didn't have so much disparity, where I wasn't able to be aware or learn a lot of these things until like grow up with a certain like social class. Like I know what it is to be in a certain social class, or like I'm not being told, oh, these rich people look down to us or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So I understand why there's classism, and I understand why there's these racial division, this cultural divisions in this country, and I never bought into it. I was always when I moved here, my first best friend was black. I would just talk to everyone. When I moved to Santa Clarita, as a matter of fact, my group was very diverse. I had black people. I had a few black people in our group. We had white people, Hispanic people. We have a little bit of everything, and it was very diverse. And I loved that. I loved that we were all from different backgrounds, but we were all kind of like were just had the same kind of mindset at the time in common. We were young kids just trying to have a good time. And I feel like that's how it should be. But Santa Clarita does, or at least it used to be very more like a small town kind of mindset, and everybody was very similar. But it's becoming more and more diverse now. It just doesn't work to have this much diversity, to have this much illegal immigration coming in, and be blinded to the social issues that this brings. There's definitely need to have these processes where like they need to let people understand, like, hey, you have to learn the language. In Mexico, you have to learn the language. You have to learn Spanish. You become. Nobody's gonna talk to you. No, nobody's gonna talk to you in English. Yeah, no, you're
English
tripping.
Or Russian.
Any Chinese. Any Chinese I met there, they learn the language and they learn it with an accent, with the accent of the area. So yeah. You become part of that, and you learn the culture, you learn the ways of there. Mm-hmm. So that's why you see this Constantine, who was actually born, my friend, who was born in Russia. He came here acting like Hispanic. He came to the U.S. Now he lives here in the U.S. because he went to school here. But he came here with a Mexican culture, because that's where he grew up. But because he understands how to adapt and understand other cultures, living here, he has become very, very like, he has also learned to adapt here a lot. But you know what happened here? Because he's in that, his work and everything is in that university like education system and culture. He has become very liberal. Very, very liberal. He's all in that, and he got a girlfriend who's very feminist. So he's all in that feminist ideologies. And sadly, because of like difference of, and sadly because of our conflict of interest, difference of opinion, pretty much like he started posting things about feminism, and I started like teaching him. That's when I didn't know much about it, but I started like teaching him a little bit about like, hey, dude, like you're wrong. Like this feminist movements are not okay. Like you should listen to so and so. And I started just kind of like arguing with him. He didn't want to listen. He didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to nothing to do. He didn't want to hear any of the proof or none of the things that I was showing him. He didn't want to learn. Coming from it was crazy because I always looked up to him as being somebody very, very smart. Somebody who would read and investigate, but no, when he got into this liberal mindset, like closes you completely. Does not want to hear it. I'm always open to learn. Are you kidding me? If you got something that say that will contradict or that it's a straight debate, that will debate or
go against whatever.
Go against what I'm saying. You can prove that what I'm saying is or the ideas that what I've been learning is false or is wrong. Please, like I don't want to live in ignorance. Like I don't want to go around thinking this and then find out that it wasn't true, you know, or like close my mind to learning more information. Like why would you want to do that? Like it blows my mind that's in that setting. He doesn't want to talk to me because I never had a problem with him. Like it would have been like I want to believe, I want to be this, that, and I know some people who are. We have some friends that are Democrats, and sadly now I learned that I can't even talk to them about politics because I know that they're gonna get crazy and they're gonna get mad at me. I respect their ideas, and I'm at that point where I would really like to change a lot of people's minds because it's insane how really wrong blinded they are. But if I know that you're the kind of person that just doesn't want to change their mind, we're just never going to talk politics. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to hate you or anything like that. I'm just going to think you're stupid. You know, bottom line, I'm just going to think like, yeah, she's an ideologue. This person is an ideologue. That's all it's going to go down to. But it's crazy that the tolerant left never wants to tolerate anything. And people I know, I have never met somebody in the right. I mean, I'm sure there is, but I have never personally met anywhere, not even on social media or anything, in the right that is not open to hearing other people's opinions or to understanding or respecting people and their family who has different political views. That's crazy. And yeah. And the other thing I was gonna say about Sweden. Do you think that's crazy that they have open? They wanna, because they always want to claim this virtue, right? They'd be like, oh, I want to help other people, diversities, and that I want to be a diverse country, and it is backfiring on them. It's funny that like they never used to have crime, they never used to have like organized crime, and now they do have it by the actual people that they claim they wanted to help. It's because like this is the one thing they don't understand. Yeah, some people do want to work, but there is some kind of like cultural mentality that comes with a lot of these countries, a lot of these people that come from poor backgrounds, is that they bring their mentality with them to the country. So that's why they need to be very picky about who they let in. They need to let the people in. It's kind of how, from my understanding, how it used to be here. Like you will have to come here with American ideals. But it's like, why do you want to be here? Why do you want to be part of America, right? Like, and they will make you learn the language. Now they don't. They just let anyone and do whatever, and they're gonna bring their. If they're socialists, they're going to bring their socialist ideas with them. They're communists, they're going to bring their communist ideas with them. If they're Muslims, they're going to bring their Muslim ideas with them. They're not going to want to adapt and be part of, be all one culture. And that is what's sad about it. Because I'm Mexican. I'm proud of being Mexican. I grew up and I loved the city where I lived. I loved it. And the reason why we moved here, one of the main reasons was because it was becoming unsafe. My city was one of the safest cities in Mexico. It was a small town. It had nothing but small businesses. It had no McDonald's, none of those shenanigans. It was all small businesses, and it was a beautiful city. Kids could run around till late at night. We used to go trick-or-treating without adult supervision. It was that safe.
One of the last...
And one of the last things that happened to my dad before we moved here is that some lowlife came with a gun. Keep in mind, like I said, Mexico has it's illegal to have guns. You cannot as a normal middle class person, you can almost impossible to get a gun. But this lowlife drug addict criminal had a gun, came into my dad's business, pointed a gun to his head. Almost shot the gun just to steal a couple of 100 pesos, like just for a few dollars pretty much. Like almost killed my dad over that. Like it's insane. Like that's where they realized like this is becoming too much, you know. Drug dealing was increasing in La Paz and all those things. And the other thing that I noticed is that once they open these they allow that one of the presidents, which it was from now I know, a socialist party, very socialist party, PRD I think it's called. He was one of he won, and he was the one that opened up they allowed corporations to start doing business in La Paz, in that city. Murdered most small businesses. Even the commercial that was owned by a family in the town for years, for generations, shut down, closed down, got bought by another like chain commercial, and it was the end of small businesses. People like to talk about like, oh, we need to redistribute what's the best redistribution of wealth there can be? If there's more small businesses. That is the best way. But you people, you decide to give your money and to vote for these big corporations. You decide to go to McDonald's instead of going to your local joint. You decide to go to Walmart instead of going to your local little shop. You and only you vote with your money.
We gotta try to promote that more small businesses.
Yes, small business. Now, like, we have a small business called Excellence Cleaning Pros. But you people decided to go to Molly Maid. You people decided to go to this new business called Handy and all these things. So, you people, you talk about like, oh, tax the rich. You want them to be rich. You're voting for them. You are giving them your money.
Yeah.
And that destroyed all these big corporations coming into the city. Destroyed my dad's small business that he had, and that's why he moved here. But my point was that I was able to see how when you move to another country, you have to adapt to the country's rules. And I'm proud of being Mexican, and I wish that Mexico would stay how it was, where everybody was Mexican and our ideals and our belief system and our culture was very, very similar, and everybody was the same. Now that I go back to my city, I kind of almost feel like going less and less and less, because there's so many different, I see more and more diversity every time. It's really depressing. I don't like it. I don't like my city becoming something else than what it used to be. For good or for bad. It wasn't perfect, but it had its essence. It had it the way it was. Like, people were very similar. And I liked that. I liked that there was a commonality in it. And we need to go back to that. We need to stop promoting diversity. 100%. In the U.S., I'm American. And in Mexico, I'm Mexican. I'm not the other way around.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Like I said, gotta realign the values of what it means to be American.
Are you doing, papas?
Just for the sake of the country, because as the leaders of the free world, we need to set the example, and not that we want like other countries to change, but like just be the example of values and morals, and what it is to be American. And if you want to move here and live that American dream, that's what it is here.
This used to be the country of the opportunities.
You start your business, and
there's so much opportunities here
you're able
to grow up,
to live really well off of small business. So that's what we want to promote.
We need to start.
And I think with our business, like, that's why we're gonna hopefully we can make it, like, take it to the next level and help people, because right now everybody had like their own little small business, cleaning business. Like, dude, like, that's what it is. But people don't want to start. They don't like to do the work.
They don't like to do the work, and
it doesn't have to be cleaning. Whatever small business you want to start, like, that's
teaching
your
them how to
way
advertise
to get out of poverty. That's your way out.
That's your way out.
People don't want to do the work, and they can't hang.
They want to work for this big corporation. They just want to be tell what to do. The whole, and then the next one I talk is when you talk about too is like university. That whole college or getting free education. It's all a scam. It's all like
now
Yeah, right now you can really learn a lot of things on your own, and I just feel like it has led to a lot of like all these generations coming up with all these different majors just to incite people to going to college. And then parents need to stop pushing their kids to go to college, because a lot of people go to college just to please their parents, but they're not really into it, and they're just wasting time. They're just wasting time and money.
That whole industry is getting like exposed now, and people can see how it's really changed. And
yeah, definitely.
It's not getting cheaper to go to college.
Yeah.
Or to go to university.
Unless you want to be literally a doctor, a nurse, be in the medical area, or be some kind of a lawyer, or work in the law industry, or literally want to learn more about businesses, or be an accountant, stuff like that, then it's worth it. But if you don't really know what you want, like anything else, you can learn it on your own. So
trades, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to learn some kind of trade, that's good. It's good to learn some kind of trade. Doesn't mean you have to be married to that forever.
Yeah.
It's a start to learn something that you can do, you can fall back on. But just going to school to learn stupid things, like me, I went to school for film. Like I was such a waste of a major. Like I really wish I would have known the things that I know now before. But with that, I am starving, so.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Peace out. Thanks for watching. Comment. Let us know what you think. Whatever. Freedom of speech here, so say whatever you want.
Yeah. And any feedback will be good. And let us know what we got, what from all the topics we touched, what would you like us to talk about in the future. Thank you so much for watching and for your support, and I'll see you guys we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.